Imagine waking up and seeing XRP rocket toward $15 while the rest of the crypto market is scrambling to catch up. That might come sooner than you think, and today I'll be digging in exactly why. This is it. We're standing at the start of what could be the wildest bull run in crypto since 2021. Everything is heating up. The S&P 500 is breaking records. Risk appetite is absolutely raging. And capital is flooding into Bitcoin, Solana, and Ethereum at a pace we've never seen. But here's the real story. While capital floods into the usual favorites, XRP is setting up for what could be the fastest runner among all top players. Now, I get it. Trust me, I get it more than anyone. XRP is polarizing. You're either waving the XRP army flag or you're completely avoiding it like the plague. And honestly, for a long time, I was in the second camp. But there comes a point in every cycle where you have to ask yourself, do you want to be right or do you want to make money? And right now, the setup for XRP is just too strong to ignore. And I'm willing to rethink everything and lose any bias I have when the data and the opportunity is starting to line up like it is. Every historic crypto cycle begins with the giants breaking out. That's happening right now. Ethereum and Solana have already paved the way with an unprecedented inflows, technical breakouts, and institutional momentum. Once the frontrunners break out, it's usually the overlooked blue chip that surprises everyone. This time, all the ingredients are in place for XRP to seize that moment. In today's show, I'm laying out why the timing for XRP has never been better, and why the next few months could make it the fastest horse among all large cap blue chip crypto. But first, let's break down how the rest of the market is setting the stage, because once these dominoes fall, XRP's window could open fast. So stick with me, because by the end of this episode, you'll have the full blueprint for how the supercycle could play out and what makes XRP the play smart money is quietly positioning for. Here's where it all begins. The big money is moving. The S&P 500 has just logged one of the most impressive runs in its entire history, surging more than 30% since April. Risk appetite, it's back on the table, and Wall Street is now chasing returns in a way that feels more like the late 90s IPO mania than a typical year in finance. And do you know what's really put Wall Street in a frenzy over crypto lately? It's the explosive success of Circle and the corporate treasuries that piled into digital assets. Once the suits got a taste for crypto gains, the floodgates opened. Tom Lee put a $250,000 Bitcoin target on the board for this year. And for the first time in a decade, even big skeptics, they're listening up. Bitcoin is still the benchmark, leading the pack and setting the pace for every cycle. Every major player in the world is watching how Bitcoin moves first. But now, like we covered in yesterday's show, the real signal is rotation. Solana and Ethereum have begun to step into a new league entirely. Solana just crossed the $100 billion market cap line, locking in a weekly close above major resistance and signaling it wants to head much, much higher. Bonk.fun and the entire Launchpad sector are driving huge ecosystem revenues, with BonkFun alone bringing in $9.7 million in a single week and a full $16.3 million in Launchpad revenue across Solana. Institutions are stacking SOL at a record pace. Mercurity FinTech locked in $200 million from Solana Ventures. Upexi's treasury holds $331 million in SOL. And DeFi DevCorp is holding $192 million, all staked, all compounding, and all locked out of circulation. Ethereum's run is just as impressive. ETH open interest has doubled to new all-time high above $24 billion, meaning more money and more traders are betting on Ethereum right now than ever before. ETF and spot inflows for ETH just smashed new records. Over $2.1 billion poured in just last week. That's more fresh capital in 7 days than we saw in all of 2024 combined. And if you want a little more evidence that alt season is here, yesterday's Bitcoin had $131 million in outflows, while Ethereum had almost $300 million in inflows. That's wild. I mean, Bernstein, BlackRock, and the world's largest asset managers are modeling ETH as a core position. And regulatory clarity is finally here. Just check out what SEC Chair Paul Atkins had to say about it.
Ether is not a security.
You hear that? That's the official green light institutions have been waiting for. And with CFTC-regulated perpetual futures now live on Coinbase, American traders and institutions finally have access to real leverage, just like everywhere else in the world. Finally, this move opens the floodgates for a whole new wave of US capital to get active in the markets. This year, 2025, ladies and gentlemen, is the year America comes on chain, because those signals for Ethereum are getting hot. Glassnode reports first-time ETH buyers are up 16% since July. The daily RSI now sits above 87, signaling the strongest bullish momentum since 2021. Solana and Ethereum are now the anchors in every high conviction portfolio, leading the charge as new capital flows in. The dominoes are starting to fall, and history always shows what comes next. When the market leaders set the pace and pull in all the capital, they create the perfect environment for the next breakout play. And right now is a time when new money and smart traders are looking for the one asset with the biggest upside left. And right now, that spotlight is shifting directly onto XRP. The conditions for a classic rotation, they're all in place. And the next wave of momentum is building. The landscape for new retail money has completely changed. Bitcoin and Ethereum are now trading at sky-high levels, leaving a lot of newcomers feeling like they've missed the boat entirely. To the untrained eye, XRP now looks like the blue chip crypto that's still trading at a discount. Keep in mind, this is a top 3 crypto that still trades between $3.20 and $3.65. Now, I know you and I don't think like that because we know how to focus on the market cap and not just the price of a single token. But new entrants don't think that way. Seeing a low price triggers what we call unit bias and pulls in waves of retail buyers, just like we've seen in every past cycle. Allow me to show you guys what I'm talking about. So if we go here to CoinGecko and we look at the market right now, the price of Bitcoin is $119,000. The price of Ethereum is $3,721. If you want to buy one of either of these, it's very expensive. If you want to go buy Solana, it's $200. Okay, not as expensive, but it's still expensive if you want to get a lot of them, right? BNB, $770. Expensive. You can't buy that many of them. But Dogecoin and XRP, out of the top 10, were the biggest runners over the past 30 days, XRP being the biggest, Dogecoin just 1% behind, but it's a lot more affordable. So if you're a retail user looking at blue chip exposure, XRP is the most affordable, even though by company valuation or by market cap valuation, it's the third most expensive. But most people coming to the market, and we're going to have millions and millions and millions of new people coming into the market over the next 1 to 6 months, millions, millions and millions. And they don't know what all this means over here. All they do is look at this. And they go, I have $1,000. I can buy 300 XRP, right? Or I can buy thousands of Dogecoin. And if it goes to the price of Bitcoin, it's yachts and Lambos and girlfriends and all that stuff, right? So that is what we call unit bias. Very, very important. And this is when you start to see videos like this.
We would settle on agreement. So this would happen instantaneously, somewhere between $10,000 and $35,000 a coin.
Now, XRP at $10,000 would mean a $1 quadrillion valuation for the company, for the token, actually, not even the company, for the token. $1 quadrillion. So about 330 times more valuable than NVIDIA. Probably not going to happen, right? But in this video, we're going to continue to talk about why I think a $10 to $20 price target, actually probably more like $15 to $20 price target, is realistic for XRP, and not in 10 or 15 years, but probably in this cycle. Stick with me. The results are already showing up in the data, and it's clear retail is now shifting their attention to the next most attractive opportunity. XRP has rallied more than 500% since July 2024. Interest is exploding on Google and YouTube. For the first time ever, XRP now leads Bitcoin and Ethereum as the most searched crypto globally. Those are levels of retail attention competitors can only dream of. When major coins get expensive, new buyers always pile into the names they can recognize and afford. This is the same muscle memory we've seen in every altcoin season, where coins with strong brand recognition and low unit price suddenly attract massive flows. And you can bet on those flows increasing once the XRP ETF goes live. The odds still remain at 95% before the end of this year. Right now, XRP is riding that wave, but this time, the fundamental and regulatory setup is even stronger than in past cycles. Why? Let me tell you why. Because we're talking about an ETF, and it's coming, right? There's going to be an XRP ETF, and we'll talk about XRP going public and an IPO later. But the money that buys ETFs, remember, they're wearing these, right? Suits. And when you look at, shout out to Vitalik, I love you, but when you look at the head of who's leading the charge, and you see Brad Garlinghouse, right, always gets his hair done, always clean shaven, suited up with a tie, and then you see Vitalik, and you're old money, right, and you're worth $1 billion, and BlackRock's talking to you about buying an ETF, and they say, well, you got XRP, it's going, it's working with banks, we'll get into that in a little bit, but 10 plus banks around the world, central banks, to create central bank currencies that will replace fiat currencies. And they're working with all these other things. Or you've got Vitalik, who runs a DAO. What is even a DAO? Well, basically, it's when no one gets to make a decision about the way the company moves forward. And a bunch of people argue, like Democrats and Republicans, all day long about how to move the protocol forward. Someone's going to go, I'd rather take the centralized approach where the guy in the suit makes the decisions about how the company moves forward. And to me, this is the biggest differentiator, for better or for worse, for XRP and something like Ethereum and Bitcoin and others, is it's just a completely different ballgame, right? And this video is not about me saying what's right or what's wrong with XRP or Ripple. Remember, I'm a private early investor in Ripple, the equity as well, right? So I'm just giving you the different perspective of the way that people would be looking at this as an asset. And what's happening behind the price action is even bigger than most realize. This summer, the US Federal Reserve made a massive move that could put XRP right in the spotlight, yet almost nobody is talking about it. They upgraded FEDWIRE, the backbone that moves trillions of dollars in daily payments, to ISO 222, the global messaging standard engineered for instant digital settlement. And XRP is already fully compatible with this standard, putting it ahead of nearly every other digital asset when it comes to banking integration. Now, with this new payment infrastructure going live, the market is starting to react. Many analysts are calling for a true price discovery and new all-time highs. We saw XRP hit all-time highs just last week, a little bit of a correction, but once it breaks through that, guys, that's what we call price discovery, and there's no ceiling at that point. There's nothing but air above it, nothing to slow it down. And this is the opportunity when sometimes these altcoins explode faster than anyone can ever imagine. Let me show you something else. This is Dogecoin, right? And this was the previous resistance here at 6.9 cents, classic, 0.69 cents, right? And then it had a bit of a correction. And then once it broke resistance, it went into price discovery, and it was up only. Insane, all the way to 69 cents, a 10x in a matter of days, with a really high market cap and valuation. This is the kind of market that we're about to enter. In a euphoric, irrational exuberance market where retail comes flooding in, high net worth individuals come flooding in, institutions come flooding in, XRP treasury companies are formed. You just don't know what's going to happen, so nothing is out of the realm of possibility. In the most irrational, biggest bull market of all times, could XRP go to $30? Yeah, right. And Bitcoin's sitting at 12 trillion, and markets pumped to 20 trillion. Yeah, this is not unrealistic. Is it an optimistic bet? Yes. Is it unreal? No. $10,000? That's unrealistic. But at $30, I mean, in the best conditions, why not? I mean, chart signals alone are powerful, but the fundamental catalysts and macro shifts aligning right now are what could keep XRP flying. And we're about to dive into those drivers next. Guys, I just want to remind you real quick of what's happening today and tomorrow as well over on Commonwealth. For those of you guys who are new, I am the co-founder of a project called Commonwealth. And today we have something really, really exciting. It is the first offering of a fundraise for a company called Hadron Energy, basically a nuclear energy company. It's going to be powering all the data centers, Bitcoin miners, everything that needs this new wave of energy that we have coming in. And let me show you guys, I've talked about it before, but we just finished an AMA with Sam, the founder of Hadron, and he joined. So if you guys are curious about this investment opportunity and you want to hear about the company, make sure that you go over to the Commonwealth Twitter page, which is just at joincommon WLTH, and check out the pinned post. And you can just watch it and you can see us talking about Hadron. And then about halfway through, Sam comes on and tells you all about it, and we do a bunch of Q&As in there. And I think it's really cool. And you can see on the app for Commonwealth, you can just go to WLTH.xyz. Takes you here. You can see under equity opportunities, Hadron Energy. Right now, the first day, the first 24 hours is only for Commonwealth Genesis NFT holders and the top 50 stakers. But tomorrow, this opens to everybody, whether you know about Commonwealth or you're new. To me, this is one of the most exciting investment opportunities I've seen in years and years and years and years. If you watch the AMA, you'll understand exactly why. There's been 100,000 of the 275,000 raised. Tomorrow, there should still be some left over for you guys. Go check it out. Okay, back to XRP. Ripple has been building in the background for years. As of this year, Ripple is now working with more than 10 central banks on either live pilots or full-scale CBDC systems. Now, if you ask me, CBDCs are anti-American. They're anti-freedom. But again, we're not here to morally debate right and wrong. We're just talking about an opportunity to make money. Countries like Bhutan, Colombia, Montenegro, and Georgia are already running real digital currency experiments and remittances on Ripple's foundation. Each central bank partnership opens a brand new channel for value to move instantly and globally. Interoperability and speed are what every CBDC rollout demands. And this is exactly where XRP's tech finds its product market fit. It serves as a kind of universal translator for digital money, connecting national currencies and payment networks across borders, something that legacy infrastructure has never solved at scale. Recognition is starting to pour in from the highest levels. The World Economic Forum, hate him or love him, now lists Ripple as one of the top innovators in cross-border payments. And it's headlines like these that speak to a whole different type of investor, not the ones trying to opt out from the existing system, but those who find value in improving how the current system works. And I'm sorry to say this for my freedom-loving friends out there, and for me too. If you saw my interview with Hasib and Avishal from Electric and Dragonfly, they were saying that they believe, as big multi-billion-dollar fund managers, that all the money's flooding into updating traditional infrastructure networks, right? And then maybe we'll see a lot of great disrupt the incumbents, disrupt Uber kind of things. Maybe that'll be next bull run. I don't know. But that's what most people are thinking right now because it's the lowest hanging fruit. It's what most people can tangibly see and understand. The other ideas are way more abstract. Remember, people are just starting to wrap their head around what Bitcoin is. Smart contracts is like speaking Chinese to them. It's something completely different. God forbid we talk about disrupting something like Uber or Airbnb or whatever, right? So we have to put ourselves back, for those who've been in the space for a long time, back to the very beginning when we started learning about this industry, and remember the order in which we learned. It was Bitcoin. Then what did Ethereum do? Okay, now what are the use cases for Ethereum? It was DeFi, and then we got to the more abstract ideas. Same thing's happening in the rest of the world right now. And institutional adoption for Ripple is accelerating right alongside the central bank partnerships. More than 20 banks and payment providers are now using XRP's on-demand liquidity to move money across borders instantly. BNY Mellon, the oldest bank in America, holds Ripple's stablecoin reserves in custody. Over 80% of Japanese banks have now integrated Ripple technology for cross-border payments. The on-the-ground network effect is real, and Ripple's infrastructure is moving value across borders every day. Ripple just made another major move for legitimacy, applying for a US national bank charter and a Federal Reserve master account. If this gets approved, and it's likely it will, Ripple could issue RLUSD and manage reserves directly at the Fed, operate nationwide under a single regulatory framework, and integrate with the US payment systems at the deepest level. This is a clear signal to the market that Ripple is moving from the crypto sidelines right into the heart of mainstream finance. These are the moves that institutional capital and serious partners have been waiting for. And to top things off, Ripple just made its biggest move yet, agreeing to buy prime mortgage giant Hidden Road for $1.25 billion. Hidden Road clears over $3 trillion a year for 300 plus institutions, putting Ripple Tech right in the middle of global trading. Once the deal closes, Hidden Road will use Ripple's RLUSD stablecoin as collateral for hedge funds and institutional clients. This instantly makes RLUSD, by extension XRP, part of the real machinery of institutional finance. Not just retail payments putting Ripple on a new level, just as regulation is finally turning in crypto's favor. And at the same time, the stablecoin sector has absolutely exploded, recently hitting a record $250 billion in market cap. On-chain transaction volume surpassed $7 trillion in the first half of 2025, and USDC nearly doubled in supply to 61.5 billion. Ripple's RLUSD stablecoin quickly climbed in the top 20 globally, and every transaction on RLUSD burns XRP for network fees. That direct link between adoption and token demand is a key reason institutional desks are starting to take a closer look into this ecosystem. I actually did a deep dive on this earlier this year and showed that in reality, RLUSD transaction only burns a tiny amount of XRP, and it's probably not much to move the price on its own. I'll drop a link to that episode in the description below if you want a full breakdown. But here's the thing, just knowing that RLUSD burns XRP is enough to get traders speculating, and sometimes that story alone can spark a move to new highs. Right now, everything tied to stablecoins is absolutely catching fire. And that's exactly where XRP's story starts to heat up. Ripple's rumored IPO is now set to arrive at the exact same moment when Wall Street is searching for new ways to gain exposure to stablecoin growth and the future of global settlements. Institutional funds are rotating into any company or token that can tap into the real-world adoption wave, and Ripple is sitting at the crossroads of stablecoins, CBDCs, and international banking. We only need to look at the recent Circle IPO to see what this kind of demand looks like in practice. When Circle went public in June, its IPO surged 7x in just 2 weeks, demonstrating the sheer appetite institutions have for assets linked to the upside of stablecoin infrastructure and digital money networks. Ripple just completed a $700 million share buyback, rumored in the $25 billion range for its equity. I didn't sell them mine, nope. But leaving plenty of upside in public markets and setting the stage for another wave of institutional inflows and renewed attention into XRP's ecosystem. If the Ripple IPO launches, which it will, it could become the central catalyst that channels Wall Street's desire for crypto exposure, unlocking a surge in demand for XRP that the market has only just begun barely to price in. That's actually the perfect segue, because if you're serious about trading hot IPOs like Circle or Ripple, if it lists and you want freedom to actually spend your crypto in the real world, then you'll definitely want to hear from our channel partners. Have you guys ever felt crypto rich, but bank account tells a different story? That's me. Forever, right? My portfolio looked great, but when it came time to pay for dinner, flights, or just a coffee, moving money around was always a hassle. Then I found Zappo. With the Zappo card, I can load it up with Bitcoin or stablecoins and spend them anywhere. Well, almost anywhere, except for what I told you guys about earlier in the video with these house loans and deposits on this and buying a car, but anywhere Visa and MasterCard is accepted. You also get this like fancy black metal card, which makes you look like a baller. And you get 1% cash back on Bitcoin for your purchases, which is amazing. Plus, if you sign up with my referral link and become a member, you can save $500. And if you're done feeling crypto rich but cash poor, try Zappo. Hit the link in the description below to get your Zappo card and unlock crypto for real life today. Guys, here's a quick story. I'm an equity owner in both Ripple and Circle. Circle had a parabolic launch, which ripped 700% in just a few days. That's altcoin style gains, but in equities. And it's not just that company. Others like Strategy, Metaplanet, SharpLink, and Bitmine, they've been some of the year's best performing stocks, all because they're stacking crypto in their treasuries. And this is where Wall Street is paying attention. To win in this market, you might need to consider trading both tokens and equities. And that's why I partnered up with Kraken. Check this out. With Kraken, you get access to over 11,000 assets, crypto, stocks, ETFs, all in one secure, easy to use dashboard. They've never been hacked in history. They've been open since 2011. They're US regulated. You can get everything like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Tesla, Apple, MicroStrategy, and others. Super easy. So if you guys haven't checked out Kraken, make sure you go do that. It's very easy to sign up. They've got 24 hours, 7 days a week support, unlike banks. And I've been using Kraken since like 2013. So I'm really happy that they were happy to be a channel sponsor. Let's get back to the video. And one more thing about Kraken, I must say this, not financial advice. This is for educational purposes only. Okay, now back to this show. Have you guys ever heard the saying, life is all about timing, or timing is everything? Well, clearly Ripple founder Brad Garlinghouse has, because right now, perfect timing is about to give XRP some serious momentum. All of these catalysts are converging just as capital across crypto begins to rotate out of the obvious winners and into the next set of breakout plays. XRP's current market cap is sitting at $210 billion, while Ethereum is at $454. If XRP moves to just $6, it would overtake Ethereum's market cap, a milestone that's well within reach if central bank adoption and institutional inflows keep gathering speed. If Ripple continues to expand its central bank partnerships, something that now seems possible given Ripple's existing global network, its reduction in legal trouble, and the traction they already have, XRP could easily see a $10 to $20 scenario becoming a real possibility. And getting to those levels wouldn't require XRP to become a global reserve currency either. It just takes a fraction of the massive cross-border payment market to flow through XRP or RLUSD, and the news and hype alone could get it there. The rotation cycle in crypto has always rewarded coins with deep brand recognition and a new narrative after majors lead. As institutional and retail muscle memory kicks in, and as ETF approvals and public Ripple IPO becomes a new focal points for liquidity, XRP's upside looks more and more like a textbook asymmetric bet. That's how parabolic runs begin, when the fundamentals, flows, and pumpamentals, the narrative, all collide. And just in case you need yet another reason to be bullish on XRP, the XRPL EVM sidechain just launched on mainnet, bringing full Ethereum smart contract capability straight into the XRP ecosystem. Now XRP is competing with Solana and Ethereum, but way faster and way cheaper. So anything you built on Ethereum before can now also be built on the XRP Ledger sidechain. Boom. And XRP, guess what? It's also the gas token for that. So now it's a clear contender also potentially for Ethereum, especially if we think Ethereum is old and antiquated. And speaking of tokenization, Ripple also just partnered with Control Alt to power Dubai's real estate tokenization project, putting property title deeds on the XRP ledger. This is government-backed, fully regulated, and shows XRP moving beyond payments and into real-world assets. So with everything all added up, you can start to see the picture of how Ethereum and other smart contract platforms are getting some serious competition. But even the biggest opportunities come with real risk you need to consider. Ripple's team and founder holdings remain significant. While every movement is tracked transparently on chain, large token unlocks and distributions are always watched closely by the market. Most monthly unlocks, they're relocked, no big deal. And the supply is scheduled for gradual release through 2038. But as you've seen throughout the cycle, the market gets spooked easily. There's usually not much scarier than a big old unlock. But to me, what it seems like Ripple's doing is actually using some of these unlocks to spend money. They have this massive, enormous multi-billion dollar war chest that they can use to continue. It kind of seems to me like they're operating on the Uber model, where this always reinvesting into making the company bigger, stronger, better, wider, and trying to conquer the world. That's what it seems like to me. So guys, aside from these massive unlocks, there's also competition, but I wouldn't say that there's so much competition. You got Stellar and other alternatives that are fighting to secure their own share of central bank digital currencies. You've got new entrants and regulatory surprises that can always shift the path forward, especially as political and policy are volatile and they increase worldwide. But despite all the risks, the cycle is fundamentally different. For the first time, the technology, the partnerships, and the inflows are all converging at scale that crypto has never seen before. We've got policy tailwinds, they're stronger than ever. And retail institutions are now moving in tandem. And real infrastructure is being built at the same time that mainstream attention is ramping up. This feels like crypto's AWS moment. The foundation is finally in place for the next era of adoption. While Ethereum and Solana stand tall as institutional, infrastructure-driven leaders this bull cycle, the technology, product market fit, and regulatory green lights have created a clear path forward for anyone looking for size and relative safety in a market with explosive upside. These are like safe 2 to 4, 3 to 6x trades that smart money already recognized. And for many investors, they'll remain the backbone of crypto allocation for years to come. But in every cycle, there comes a moment when the narrative shifts and the asymmetric play begins to run. Right now, XRP has all the ingredients for something much, much bigger. You've got narratives like the flippening of legacy giants like Shell Oil, a pipeline of ETF and IPO catalyst, a wave of retail attention and search interest, and a growing list of real-world banking and central bank partnerships. With the right combination of liquidity, infrastructure, and macro setup, XRP is positioned as the highest beta, fastest moving large cap in this super cycle. Let's be honest. If XRP grabs even a fraction of the valuation we see for giants like Visa or MasterCard, with market caps of 685 billion or 500 billion, you start to see just how much room there is to run. And if you look at Ethereum, remember, back in 2018, XRP actually flipped ETH and became the number 2 crypto for a month or so. The president is there for another run at that title, especially as all these new catalysts line up. Now, I'm not saying this happens overnight, but with this kind of setup, a move to $10 or even $13 for XRP is absolutely on the table, or even $20. And if it gets real wild, like I said, 25 is not off the table. Picture this. Let's say Ethereum does a 2x from here. Easy. It's going to happen. And then XRP catches up to ETH. That scenario right there brings you to a $14 XRP. This is the classic moment where the patient investor, positioned early, gets rewarded for seeing the full picture before the headlines catch up. As history has shown, the true rotation always happens when the fundamentals, the flows, and the narrative finally align. Global finance is being rebuilt right before our eyes. Ethereum and Solana have delivered the signal for institutional adoption, but XRP is now sitting at the intersection between regulatory clarity, explosive retail demand, and real banking partnerships. Have I joined the XRP army? Well, if you know me, guys, you know that I'm here to disrupt the old system, not evolve it. But to be honest, I'm also here to make money. If I see the setup for XRP go higher, you better believe I'm going in for that trade. And right now, that magical alt season that only comes around once every 4 years just started, and opportunities to make money are popping up everywhere you look. If you want to see the proof, check out this next video. Guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. Make sure to do me a favor and like and subscribe if you're not already. And if you're part of the XRP army, tell me your price targets in the comments below, because I'm curious to hear what you think. Have an amazing rest of your day, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. And remember, guys, stay sharp, stack your Satoshis, some Ethereum, and probably some XRP. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya.